Hi everybody and welcome back to my modeling channel. Today I'm gonna build a Ju87 called as the Stuka on a scale 1/72 from Italeri. So let's open the box and start the kit review, and then we'll do the modeling of the plane by itself. So the screw comes and we have a grey plastic with very fine engravement, but let's have a closer look on that. So initially the kit comes in two main screws. Basically we have the wings, the vertical stabilizer, maybe some details on the engines and the radiator. And what else do we have here? We have also the front part, the part of the cockpit and inside. Then on the other one, we have the main body of the aircraft, some bombs, all the details of the cockpit itself, the undercarriage, the wheels, the propeller, and some other bombs. Now we also have a screw with clear parts, and that's basically the cockpit windows, and they are in three parts, as you can see. And the good thing as well is that you have a difference between a clear part and an opaque part, and that will help to do some masking when we're going to do the different options we have. So let's have a look now on the instruction sheets and the decal sheets. So we're gonna start this build with some interesting, basically we're gonna start building the cockpit itself, then closing down the fuselage, start to prepare the engine, glue it to the main fuselage. The instructions are pretty straightforward, as we can see, and we have 1, 2 and 3 different decals options. So those options are basically one Stuka started in Libya in 1942, the other one in Greece, in Crete, in May 1941, and the last one was in France in 1940, so the French campaign. So I will do those builds, and let me check now for the decals, which should be along the kit. So for those people, I will basically use those decals, and we have a decal sheet. Let's see, was printed in Italy, and I used some of the Italeri kits and decals earlier. They are pretty good quality. Sometimes they require just a clear coating, and there's some softener decals, but generally speaking this is what I will do. So I will use everything straight out of the box, and let's start building and see how we come out. I will start this model by the cockpit assembly. So first I will have to remove all the parts, and of course I will prepare them, and after that glue them together. And once this will be done, I will have to use a dark grey color, most probably matte, to be able to paint inside the fuselage, of course, and the cockpit itself. Once the paint will have dried out, I will use a process called dry brushing. So I will use some paint, metallic paint, and I will put most of it on a paperboard, and then I will use the remain, very light remain, to put on the contour and the panel lines basically of the models. After that I will use some white paint and a very thin paintbrush to basically paint all the instruments and the panel lines within the cockpit. I will also have to do that with yellow colors, will be on the instruments, as long as some other colors. After that I use some matte brown to paint basically the parachute of the pilot, and then after that I'd use some deck tan color that I found very useful for the seatbelt.
It's now time to prepare the body of the aircraft. So of course I will glue the fuselage together with our cockpit inside. Then of course after that I will prepare the wing assembly as long as the main engine of the aircraft. With the glue dried out, we will now fill up all the gaps on the engine body, basically, the fuselage and the wings. Let them dry and of course sand it down and see if there is still some little gaps remaining. It's now time to rescribe some panel lines who disappear basically after filling up all the gaps. After that, we are going to glue the fuselage, the engine and the wings all together. And once the glue will be dried, of course, we will have to fill up the gaps with some Tamiya putty. So while everything is drying up, we're going to prepare our stabilizer as well. And of course, we're going to assemble that to the main body of the aircraft. It's now time to prepare basically our propeller as well, and also the undercarriage, who are secondary parts but quite important to the model. After installing the aircraft windscreen, we're going to have to put some putty around it, as there will be some slight adjustment. Of course, when this is drying, I will have to do I will add some masking tape to the windscreen to avoid the paint basically to blur all the cockpit itself. It's now time to go for the paint job. So initially I will start to paint the underbelly of the aircraft with a very light blue color and a gray color. And after that we will have to do some other masking for the rest of the canopy of the aircraft itself. So this will be the next detailing part of that model, and you will see that can be quite time consuming, but the results are normally very nice. Now we're going to put some camouflage on that aircraft. So for this I use olive dark color from Tamiya, and I will paint the first layer, of course, on that aircraft, and after that I will have to do some little adjustment for the other part of the camouflage. It's now time to put the masking tape for the aircraft and to have the last part of the camouflage prepared for the paint booth. So painting and drying has been now completed. We're going to remove all the masking tape on the model and see what is the final result. And of course after we will do the final assembly, with the cockpit windows of course, and putting the decals and weathering the aircraft later on. Now we are going to add the gun on the rear gunner turret, which is located basically on the back of the aircraft, and after that I will add the canopy itself. Now the plane is getting looking more and more like its final shape. Now we're putting the exhaust and little antennas, and now we're going to start decaling the whole aircraft. For this I choose the livery of 1942 was in print. So now the plane is almost finished. I'm going to use some panel lines from Tamiya to do some more weathering on the aircraft itself that will replicate some panel lines and also some oil stain. You can also see on the bottom right corner some makeup basically, and what I will do, I will dry brush some of those as well. So I was using some dry brushing with metallic color to replicate basically some paint chip around the airplane, so mainly where parts are being used, mainly around the leading edge of the aircraft or the propeller themselves, or where a pilot would walk on the wings, on the inner part of the wings. So all these, after that I will try to add some more oil stain using my makeup color bag that you can see on the bottom right. For that I use also a dry brush, and I try to put the oil stain around the exhaust, so basically close to the fuselage, on the top and the part below. So this is the final result of that Stuka, that the Ju87 Stuka at the 172 model. So it was a very easy build. I have to say that I quite enjoyed it, and you could do also, I could have done some more details, but I didn't want it to go too far into it. So this is a straight out the box, and I hope you enjoyed that build with me. If you did so, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I will see you soon in another modeling video. Thank you for watching.